Welcome to the workshop, Ready, Set, Apply. I'm Amy Merkel, a counselor and the Transfer Center Director for Santa Rosa Junior College, and I want to congratulate you on moving one step closer to your goal of transferring to a four-year university. This workshop will help you to understand what it is that you need to do within this academic year to prepare for transfer. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to begin and end with a year at a glance. So we're going to start with looking at where we are right now, and then at the end we'll look at tasks you'll have more to do in the spring semester. So for the month of July, you want to begin drafting essays, especially if you're applying to a UC or a private school. The CSU does not require essays. They do have some short questions if you're going to apply to EOP. You also want to draft those essays for any scholarships you might be applying for. You want to begin to research and organize your tasks and deadlines according to each school, because each school and each system can vary, and so it's important that you're aware of what the dates and deadlines are. In August, you can actually begin the UC application. The UC application opens on August 1st. You just cannot submit it until November 1st. You could also begin working on the common application if you're applying to a California independent or out-of-state campus. In the month of September, if you are planning to apply to a UC, you want to begin to research the UC tag, the transfer admission guarantee. So that application opens September 1st, and you can submit it between September 1st and September 30th. On the Transfer Center website, we have a lot of resources for the tag, and you want to see if you qualify for the tag. You may qualify at one school and not the other, and so you want to begin researching that to see if it's something that you could do. You can always reach out to us if you have questions, but we also offer workshops for the tag as well. You want to start researching scholarships, and you want to do this every month from here on out, if not weekly. So schedule a time to do some scholarship research and get those applications in so that you can get some free money. In the month of October, you can begin and submit your CSU application. The CSU application is typically due on November the 30th. However, for fall of 2021, they have extended that deadline to December 4th. Some schools may even extend beyond that. You would want to attend a UC CSU application review session in the Transfer Center. For fall of 20, we will be doing those virtually. As far as you submit a form to us, we will review the application and send you any feedback via email or by phone. You can also begin applying for financial aid in the month of October. And in November, you would submit your UC application by November the 30th. If you tag, you still apply, so keep that in mind. And in December, you would want to keep up that scholarship search. All right, so for the UC, most UCs run on the quarter system. There's a few on the semester system. But again, you are applying between November 1st and 30th, but you can start that application much earlier than that, and we highly recommend that you do that. If the UCs are open for winter or spring admissions, you apply in the month of July. Typically, that has been UC Santa Cruz, UC Riverside, and UC Merced that last couple of years. And in the actual application, you are going to include all courses ever taken, as well as those grades, no matter what that grade was, if you repeated the class, if you got a W, or if you petitioned for academic renewal. You're going to include information on your activities, which is paid or unpaid work, any volunteer work that you've done, if you've been involved in clubs, hobbies, projects, awards, whatever it might be can be listed there. And you want to think about what have you done recently, not things that you did in middle school or high school, but what have you done recently. And then there's 4 short questions that you respond to. They're called personal insight questions, and we'll get to those in just a second. And so you can see the UC campuses over here. Our highest number of students go to Davis. Berkeley, and Santa Cruz. Of course, we have students that go elsewhere, but I think a lot of students in Northern California want to stay in Northern California. Here's some tips for the UC application. You want to find out if your major is selective, and if it is, have you met those requirements? The time of applying is not the time to find this information out, because if you do not meet the selection criteria for that major, then you want to research what other major you might want to apply under if that's your dream school. You want to create a TAP account, which is the Transfer Admission Planner, and this will save you time when you fill out the application. The TAP is also connected to the tag. So if you have a TAP account, it makes the tag a little bit easier as well. When you're filling out the TAP, you want to make sure you have access to all your college transcripts, including any AP or IB. Students often ask, do I have to include an AP score if it wasn't 3 or higher? The UC wants to know that, so they prefer to have that information. They feel it shows what kind of student you have always been, no matter if you got a passing score on the AP test or not. Did you repeat any classes? And if so, you're going to include those in the TAP or in the application. The UC does a nice job of making it very clear. So you would input the first class, and let's say that was a D, and then when you enter the class again, it will ask you, was this a repeat from blank semester? And you would say yes, and then it indicates that in the application. If you applied for academic renewal and were forgiven of a D or F grade, it also has AR for academic renewal. So you would not put the D or F in, you would put AR for the grade. You want to review what we call the UC limitations. And I know this document is dated old, but it's still what is most current. So what this shows is if a student took Child Development 10 and then a few semesters later took Psych 4, the UC deems those classes too similar and would only give you content credit for 1. So you would only get 3 units instead of 6. So this is an important sheet to look at to see if you have any courses that limit credit, because that could, make a difference in your overall unit count. So this is on the SRJC website. You can just Google SRJC UC limitations and it would come up. It's on the Transfer Center website as well as on the articulation page. You want to pay attention to how many activity units you have. So that means any kinesiology classes, activity classes. So how many times did you take yoga, weightlifting, and bar? How many athletic classes do you have? So they limit those activity units to 4. Dance is outside of that. So if you've done dance classes, you can take as many dance classes as you want. So that's another thing to be aware of. You want to start reviewing the PIQs, the personal insight questions, and begin writing some drafts. So there are 7 questions within the PIQs. One is answered by every student, and then you have 8 other questions that you can choose from and decide which ones you would want to answer, okay? We have a brainstorm session for PIQs, and we also do reviews. So take advantage of what the Transfer Center offers. You can also access the Writing Center. If you are applying to the College of Letters and Sciences at UC Berkeley, you need to be aware that IGETC needs to be completed by the end of spring. So there are a lot of majors within the College of Letters and Sciences at UC Berkeley, and you want to make sure that you're finishing IGETC if you're applying to that campus for that college, and that those classes have to be done by spring. You can't do those in the summer before you're starting at UC Berkeley. All right, so let's look at the California State University. The application opens October 1st, and typically that deadline is November 30th, but for this year, again, it's December 4th, with some campuses maybe extending beyond that. If you were applying as a spring transfer student, that application is August 1st to the 31st. The CSU also requires that you include every class you've ever taken and all the grades. And that includes courses from other community colleges. It can include courses from out of the state, out of the country. It also includes maybe courses you did 10 years ago that maybe you didn't do very well in. It includes non-transferable courses. Everything is included, okay? If you are applying to EOP, as I mentioned earlier, then there are some questions you have to answer beyond the application that include questions around your personal information, your financial status, and some short question responses. I believe there's 7 of them. So here's all of the CSU campuses with, of course, Sonoma State being our #1 transfer destination. And that's followed by SAC, Chico, and San Francisco. And they just kind of bounce between 2nd, 3rd, and 4th every year. And again, we have lots of students that go elsewhere, but those are our top choices for our students. Here are some tips for the CSU. You want to look if your major is impacted. So impaction or selection with the UC selective majors, those are ones that have more students applying to them than the campus has room for, and so they have created criteria that you must meet, okay? So you want to research that, and here's the impaction criteria website for the CSU. So here it's telling you these, let's see, 7 campuses are 100% impacted. So every single major at Fresno State, Cal Poly San Luis, Long Beach is impacted. Okay, so that's something to keep into consideration. But you can choose a campus. So let's look at Sonoma, and you can choose upper division transfer. Okay, and they do have impacted programs. They're just not listed for some reason. So let's choose a different school. Let's look at Humboldt. So here it's telling you these are the impacted majors at Humboldt, and you can then go to that campus's site to see what those requirements would be. There is also a grid that you could look at, and this will tell you going across are all the CSUs and down are the majors. So if you are majoring in economics, wherever there's a red I, that means it's impacted. So Fresno, Fullerton, Long Beach, what's the next one? I missed it. Oh, LA, San Diego, San Jose, San Luis Obispo. Many of those are the 100% impacted campuses anyways. So that might be a quick glance for you to see who isn't impacted, okay? And then maybe you're gonna apply to 3 impacted schools, but you wanna have 1 non-impacted school to have that safety net, okay? All right, again, you want to have access to those college transcripts and your AP and IB scores. Same questions. Did you repeat anything? On the CSU application, it's a little bit different. For that first attempt, if you got a D or F, you would put RP for the grade, and then the second or third attempt, you would put the actual grade. So if you took a class 3 times, you would put RP twice, and then the third time you would put the passing grade, okay? If you were forgiven of that grade through academic renewal, then you would put AR for the grade and not the D or the F. You don't want a D or F calculated into your GPA if it's not being calculated into your GPA by SRJC. You want to determine if you're earning an associate's degree, and if so, what kind of an associate's degree is it? Is it a local SRJC associate's degree, or is it an associate's degree for transfer? It has that T attached to it. The 4 transfer degrees offer you some benefits at the CSU. So it's important that you inform the CSU in the application that you're earning that associate's degree for transfer. And then you want to learn more about EOP and decide if you want to apply for that program or not at that specific campus. All right, so on the SRJC Transfer Center website, we have buttons going across our homepage, And if you click on the apply button here or accepted button, it will bring you to this page. And so I just want to point out a few things. We have how-to videos. They're not very long that will help you in filling out the application for the CSU or the UC. So watch that video first, okay? For the CSU, it will not be posted until, you know, maybe October 2nd, 3rd, somewhere around there, because I can't get access to the application until October 1st, just like you. So I can't record the how-to video until I see what changes they've made on October the 1st. Here is a link to the UC Transfer Admission Planner, the UC limitations on transfer credit. So we have all of those there. And then, whoops, sorry about that. And then down here for the CSU, there is a transfer credit entry guide. That is what trips students up the most on the CSU application. So you might want to spend a few minutes looking at that before you start the application, okay? And there's some other information in here as well. So go to the apply button and then look at the resources that we have for both the CSU and the UC. All right, so for private and out-of-state universities, they vary. The requirements are, you know, for one school it's one thing and for another school it's another. So if you're looking at California independent and out-of-state universities, you really need to do that research. And I highly recommend you create some type of grid for yourself so that you can keep things straight. Most applications are due January or beyond. So for a California independent out-of-state campus, typically it's January through March, but I've seen it, you know, as late as May. So it just varies. Many of these campuses use what's called the Common Application. And so you would want to become familiar with the Common App so that you have an understanding of what has to be required. But some potential requirements of a Common App, again, all those courses and grades, activities that you've done. Some schools have essays, some schools have short answers that you fill out. Campus dependent on letters of recommendation. You do not need letters of rec for the CSU or the UC. The one exception to that is if you're applying to EOP for the CSU, then they do have some letters of recommendation. But the privates and the out-of-states are more likely to have a letter of recommendation. It just varies by campus. Some schools require an SAT or ACT score, even for transfer students. And we see that more of schools on the East Coast. So if you were looking at schools on the East Coast, I mean, really anywhere, but especially there, you want to pay attention if you're going to need a test score, because I know a lot of our students did not take the SAT or ACT thinking you wouldn't need it as a transfer student. And in California, you don't, for the CSUs and UCs. All right, so some common application tips. You want to confirm with the institution that you meet their admissions requirements. So how many units do they require? Typically it's 24. Is there any required major prep or general education? And is there a certain GPA that you might need? So those are the three most important questions to ask an admissions rep from the campuses you're considering. And then have you checked for any required additional tasks that you need to do? Again, those letters of rec, the test scores, and the college report. So the college report looks like this, and we have it on the Transfer Center website. So this is something that you would need to have filled out. And then at SRJC, it goes to admissions and records. They will fill out the background information, and then it goes on to another department to confirm you have no disciplinary actions that have been taken at SRJC. So the college report, you want to get on that, okay, and get that taken care of. You may have to upload a high school transcript, more commonly a college, but those are typically required that you have to upload them. And then you want to start your personal statement and or supplemental questions if those are required. And I wanted to show you, here is the University of Chicago and what they have. You know, there's some interesting questions in here in the way that they do it. So they have a required question, and then they have a second extended essay, and you choose one. These are written by students. So students, you can see class of 2024, class of 2022, class of 20. So they allow students to come up with essay questions that are part of the application. So it's an interesting way to do it, and you would want to research those to see what you might want to answer, okay? And then you want to start the CSS profile and or your FAFSA or California Dream Act application as soon as possible, typically in the month of October. So on that same button of the apply button, you click there, and down below we have information for the common application. And let me just show you what is down there really quickly. So in here, we have the link to the actual common application, to the college report, procedures on how to fill out the college report. Some campuses ask for a midterm report where they want to know what your grades are as you're applying, okay? So some information in there on the Common App and to help you get through that. We will also have a Common App application workshop in December, so that might be one that you want to attend. All right, so let's finish up our year at a glance for the spring semester. In January, you're going to submit transcripts as requested. Some schools ask and others don't. So if a campus is not asking for a transcript, you do not need to send it. You would want to do the UC and CSU application updates, as well as any supplemental applications that might be required. So this can vary from campus to campus, okay? If you're earning an associate's degree from SRJC, you need to complete the application to get that degree. And you want to begin researching housing options. You want to submit the SRJC Foundation Scholarship by March the 1st. And your FAFSA by March 2nd, okay? In April, we have the transfer transition workshops. That's to help you in moving on and what it is that you need to think about as you are going to transition to another campus. In April, by the end of April, you should hear from all of your campuses as far as CSUs and UCs go. And then in May, you would accept or deny your admissions offers, pay your deposit, research and secure housing, and sign up for an orientation. And then we also have a transfer celebration at SRJC. Not sure how that will happen spring of 2021, but if we're doing it, we want all of you to be there. June, you would submit your final transcript with spring grades, as well as your GE certification if you completed GE at SRJC, and attend your orientation. So there's a lot that goes on for transfer, and we are definitely here to help you. We want to help you have a smooth transition moving on to that four-year university, so don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need help.